Hello everyone, and welcome back to this mini series of where I'm smelling the fragrances from this house, which is called Ｑ₂ or Oneofthose. And today we are going to smell oxygen and lithium. So I am very excited about lithium as a secret between us, because it's another metal. So whenever I hear metals, maybe I'm going to get a metallic sense, and I do love metallic scents. I find them to be quite interesting. However, I will start, this is how I do it, I will start with oxygen. Let's leave the one I'm most interested in for last. Now, I'm going to cut this open as usual. I'm going to cut around it. Okay. Now, let's see. Oh, that's a squeaky type of styrofoam. It's squeaking. All right. So oxygen. This was done by ₦Li as well. Oxygen is very sour. Oxygen smells like pickles. And it is very woody. I wonder. Oh, but it is lovely. It's settling into this. Oh, very, very. Oxygen is quite woody, and there's just a bit of. So this smells like one of those, no pun intended, one of those molecules. I don't remember which one. One of those fragrances from eccentric molecules. I don't know which one, but it's type of that sort of single, very chemical, very synthetic smell. But it's very, very interesting. It's very woody. I don't know if it's ISO E Super. It might be that. But the fact that it's also, I mean, at first it did give off that pickle smell. It might be the molecule used for instead of sandalwood. I can't decide. It's very tricky to my nose because it's also quite ozonic. It also it almost has this burn smell, like it's the smell has a very upward trend. It's quite violent. It's almost like it's burning. It's very interesting because it is oxygen. It is supposed to embody oxygen, and oxygen is responsible for, you know, burning. Everything burns in contact with oxygen. And it is very interesting. It gives off this, it's very ozonic, which I think it's fitting. But again, this is the impression that I get. It's nothing, I mean, I'm not, it's, when I say it's burning, I mean it's quite pungent. And it's quite spicy. It's a spicy, pungent scent that is kind of reminiscent of ash. You know, it's like a fire that you just put out. It's no longer smoking, but it's like when you smell a piece of coal. Because it is very woody. But at the same time, I find it to be very, very fresh. And it's not only fresh, it's also a very refreshing type of scent. But it's not like anything I've smelled before. I mean, it doesn't remind me of anything at all. Not at all. No, let's check the notes for this fragrance. So it says woody notes, olibanum, which is, it's incense, for lack of a better term, aldehydes, vetiver, pepper, musk, and saffron. So I was right on the spicy thing, and sort of, if I see olibanum there, now olibanum does smell, to me, olibanum, I mean, not to me, whenever I smell olibanum in a fragrance that's about olibanum, olibanum is resinous, coniferous, quite sharp, quite pungent, but I would be lying if I told you I smell olibanum in this. However, the woody part is there, and the pungent part is there, but there's nothing camphorous, there's nothing balsamic in this, at least not now. But there is a very peppery vetiver that might be a possibility, aldehydes definitely, and there might be that saffron smell, which is also quite pungent and quite spicy. And it is a very, very interesting fragrance. But somewhere in the base, somewhere, there's something that is quite reminiscent of this mercury. Yes. There's something quite similar to the way mercury is done. I wouldn't be able to tell you what it is, though. But definitely a very interesting smell, this oxygen. And the fact that there's something that's being burnt but no longer burning, that's a very interesting facet to this. Okay, so let's open up Lithium. From what I smelled by now, until now, these fragrances tend to be on the fresh side. They are, all of them, quite, the way most Italian fragrances are. This is an exaggeration on my part, but it's a generalization, but they tend to be quite fresh and quite Mediterranean, dare I say. And I like this a lot because this is a kind of unique quality that I find in, as I said, most Italian fragrances, and again, it's something I truly enjoy. And they are very easy to like, and there's nothing challenging about them, without them being common, right? I mean, it's still, they are very, very interesting. Now, Lithium gives off a very wild rose type of smell. Oh my, this is very dark. This is velvety. It's very incensey. This is very, very interesting. And it is, again, it's very, very pungent. But it does remind, because it's a rose type of fragrance, rose / geranium, not sure, but because it's this type of fragrance, a dark rose, a velvety rose, it does remind me quite a bit of other fragrances. But I think it's quite fitting because Lithium, whenever I hear the term lithium, it's quite moody, it's lithium, it's moody, it's darker, it's morose. This is what, yes, I think morose is a good term to associate with lithium. Lithium is quite morose. Now let's look at the notes for this fragrance. I see here that it was done by Nicolas Bonvie. So this is a rose, saffron, patchouli type of smell. Spices, woodsy notes, cedar, musk, and iris. Now this is very interesting. You know, I've had these fragrances for such a long time and I haven't opened them. I'm quite surprised I'm just now realizing that I own these fragrances. This is something that I now own and I will be able to enjoy them, and they are very, very good fragrances. They're lovely, especially this Lithium. This reminds me of, now this is going to sound a bit crazy, but this reminds me a bit of another beautiful patchouli-rose, which is Rose Nacrée de Désert by Guerlain, which is one of my, it is my favorite from the, well, it's not my favorite because my favorite is Encens Mythique, but it is a very, very good fragrance from Le Désert d'Orient. It is very discontinued now, and what I find very interesting about that fragrance is that it's a cold rose. It's a frosted kind of rose, and it is very velvety, dark, and almost minty because of that patchouli. Now, patchouli rose combinations, you know, we get them a lot. There are hundreds and hundreds of patchouli roses, but this one, because it's spicy and because it's, I know there's something here that reminds me of Rose Nacrée de Désert, and I think it's a very good fragrance. Now, does it stand out from the crowd of patchouli roses? I'm not sure, but it's still beautiful in its own right. Now, the audacity to take this patchouli rose incense, and because there is something very incensey in this, there's something resinous in this, there's something spicy, almost oudy like in this fragrance. The audacity to take this combination and call it Lithium, I think it's quite telling. Now, the saffron in this does give it this sort of metallic mineral vibe, which is very good. It's very interesting, and just to, you know, to associate it with a type of metal, but it is not a deeply metallic scent as mercury is. Now, this is a fragrance that gets me very curious to its, I don't know, I want to see where this leads me, if this turns into anything else. It probably won't, because as it is, it's quite heavy. As I said, it's a very velvety rose. It's quite beautiful. However, I'm not very sure it stands out for this, from this, you know, huge crowd of patchouli roses that we already have. So yeah, I'm going to have to see how this fragrance changes, if at all. So I'm going to let this settle, and now let's get back to Oxygen for just a bit. Now, Oxygen became a lot darker and deeper and even more burnt, which is interesting. It's a burnt type of smell. Quite interesting. However, it's quite fleeting. I mean, I can barely feel it. It's there, but when I smell them side by side, because I just smelled Lithium, which is a very, very powerful scent, I think it kind of negates this Oxygen. So hopefully I will be able to, I think I will have to start with this when I kind of do the recap, because I think this is the lightest of all the smells I've smelled today. It's definitely one of the lightest. but it's there, and it's still very woody, fresh, ozonic, but quite burnt. Quite interesting. Quite an interesting little fragrance there, quite inoffensive. And this might be, because it is done by Antoine Lee, this might be just a fragrance from État Libre d'Orange. I don't know why. It just has this delicate feel about it, which is not at all a bad thing. I think it's very inoffensive, very easy to wear. And yes, I think, yes, it does remind me quite a bit of one of the fragrance from Eccentric Molecules, but I wouldn't be able to tell you which one. Because, I mean, to my nose, they are very similar. So yeah, this was these were my impressions of Oxygen and Lithium from this very interesting and mysterious niche house, which is no longer available or in production anywhere, unfortunately, which is Nube. So if you have any other questions, do let me know in the comments, and we will see you in part 3 and the final part of this mini series. And until next time, remember, fragrance creates memories, and may yours be happy.